Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode number 40. What a milestone, 40. We are over the hill officially as a podcast. Welcome to episode 40 of Geeks Who Like Sports, as always, in Los Angeles. I am Ray Carcello. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, hoping it is good wherever you're listening to us. Joined by my best buddy, of course, on the other side of the country, in lovely Philadelphia. It's always sunny in Philadelphia. Lee, how is it going this morning?
It actually is sunny here in Philadelphia today, Ray. It's just like 25 degrees, so it's a little cold in Philadelphia. But, Ray, got to go back a minute here.
Yes.
Because I don't think you thought about that thing when you said that we're over the hill at 40. You and I are very much approaching 40.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not there, but we're closer than I'd like to admit. I mean, we're within a 5-year mark of that. I don't feel over the hill at 40. What are you doing, man?
Well, I'm just saying. I mean, that's what they say. That's the saying. That's the saying.
Right,
You're over the hill
right.
at 40.
As someone like 12 months older than you, can I give you some advice?
Okay.
Don't do that.
Okay.
All right. No, right. I'm doing great today. I want to say I haven't shown a mug in a while. My niece, Brittany, got me this very nice lightsaber mug. I've already drank half of it, but the lightsabers turn on as hot liquid poured into the mug. Again, it's one of those like, it's kind of nerdy, but that's the point.
Yeah,
so
that's actually really nice. Yeah.
It will also help us into our geek segment today because today we are closing out Star Wars season officially today. We'll get into that in a minute.
Yes.
But Ray, I'm doing great. It's finally winter here. It was like 60 degrees last week. It was something stupid like that. It's like LA or something like that. But it's freezing cold. It's sunny in Philadelphia. I'm happy to be here with you once again. I've been looking forward to the show. I mean, we've had a couple.
We've got a big
show
planned for you folks.
Yeah,
Like, I mean, it's been, we've had a couple of rough weeks. I've been dealing with jury duty, which is now officially over. He was guilty. We found him. I can talk about the case now. He was officially found guilty of the count of 2 counts of robbery in the second degree. We found him guilty. I was the foreman of the jury. I was a very good foreman. Everybody told me afterwards I was a very good foreman. Typically, you vote on this when you go and become a foreman. And for those of you who haven't been in jury duty, when you start deliberating, the first thing you do is you vote on a jury. And I basically was like, nope, this is a dictatorship. I'm foreman. And everybody was like,
what qualifies you? I have a podcast called Geeks Who Like Sports.
Yes.
And he's guilty. The prosecutor loved it.
Yeah.
Like, we haven't began the trial yet, sir. He's guilty. I want this guy. Juror number 11, please.
No, well, sometimes in a jury room, you need somebody who's going to take charge, and I took charge because basically everybody was like, "Yeah, you want to be foreman? Great, you're foreman." Like,
you know what happened? Let me tell you all what happened at home. Okay,
Yeah.
He was sitting there, and somebody on the thing was like, "Oh, I wonder what the Giants are going to do this year." And then Ray just did one of his giant rants, and they said, "That dude's the foreman."
He's in
Because
charge.
I'm terrified he's going to make a crime if we don't select him foreman.
That's right. There was murder in the first degree in the jury room on the case of robbery in the second degree.
They're lucky the Jason Garrett news didn't come till after you were out of jury duty.
I know.
Because there would have been another crime.
Oh, God.
The Cowboys coaches with you. We'll talk about that in sports. I can't.
Oh, God.
I can't wait to talk about the Giants coaching staff in sports. Make sure you stay tuned for that because it's going to be epic.
We've got a lot going on. We're doing another bracket today later on instead of a mashup, which will be fun.
If you're a gamer, that you want to be here for that. This is for a gaming side. We have a lot of people request us that Ray talks about games because he is the overlord, no pun intended, of gaming. So we will have that. Overlord. Wait, Lord, yeah. Overlord, Dark Lord.
Dark Lord's good. I mean, anything with the word Lord in it kind of works. I'm the Lord of gaming. Star Lord, Warlord.
Star-Lord, man. Legendary gamer.
Yeah.
Who?
Yeah. But we got a lot to talk about. Jury duty's over, so hopefully now I can kind of get back into my routine, and with that we can get more into routine with the show. We are recording on a Tuesday. It's January 22nd. Or 21st. Today, January 21st.
21st. Today's the 21st.
It's several hours before the Baseball Hall of Fame is being announced, this class.
Yes.
We will get to that later as well. But as usual, we're going to kick things off with Geekdom. As I've been sitting and deliberating about justice, I am the law. I am the law. In the courthouse in LA, Lee has been going down the conspiracy theory rabbit hole for Star Wars. And he has a lot to share with us that he's come up with in the past. If you're watching in the video, his Boba Fett and R2 are mock battling here. Boba Fett is obviously winning, or should be, or no, R2's taking over now, using his thruster jets to fry Boba Fett, as Boba Fett now falls off screen into the proverbial Sarlacc pit of nothingness. So I always have to do play-by-play.
What Indiana Jones just showed up?
Oh my God! It's Indiana Jones. We're just gonna do a special episode one day where it's just me and Lee playing with our action figures.
Were you playing with your toys, sir? No, sir. I didn't see you playing with your toys. Good. It's real life.
But yeah, so Lee, kick us off today. We tell us about some of your Star Wars as Star Wars season comes to an end. The movie's out and leaving theaters now. The video game's been out now for a couple of months. Mandalorian is over. Clone Wars will start back up soon.
The season is over.
The season is over. Yes. It's not like Watchmen, which is going to be a one and done. Mandalorian will have a second season sometime this fall. Yes. Lee, tell us though, tell us your grand theories of Star Wars now that Star Wars season is ending.
Right, I have been contemplating these for a few weeks, as you all know out there. I have very important jobs, but my majority of my time is spent thinking about this stuff, which is super duper true. I was actually thinking the other day how blessed I am that I think about this stuff when we get to do this show, and I really have to think about it. But first thing, before we do this, this is going to be a general spoiler alert real quick. I don't know if I'm going to spoil anything, but I don't want to take the risk. So if you haven't seen Rise of Skywalker or The Mandalorian yet, you may not want to listen to this episode yet. I just want to give you that. I think most of you have seen it at this point. Yeah. But this is a general spoiler alert. There probably will be spoilers in this. So, Ray, a few things. I'm going to talk a little bit about some theories now of that now that the trilogy is ended.
Right.
Thank goodness for that.
Yes.
We're going to talk about how some of these things might affect other movies and also affect other trilogies within the Star Wars world. I will be talking about everything today except for Clone Wars and Rebels. So I will not be talking about any of the animated series, although those are great and you should watch them if you haven't already. There's some amazing stories. That's another time, another episode. Yeah. But I am only talking about live action Star Wars today. Good intro. It wasn't as good as your intro, but it's good.
Oh, it was pretty good.
Okay, so I have a list of things here. So there's no particular order here, but I do want to go over some of these things. So if you're a Star Wars fan, you'll love these, okay? So first things first. In The Rise of Skywalker, this is a spoiler, we find out that Kylo Ren, or Ben Solo, and Rey Skywalker are a dyad in the Force, okay? And that because of that dyad, they can force heal each other and possibly other animals. Now, it was very vague whether that force power is limited to the two of them or if it's a force power that can be learned by other beings. We do know that Baby Yoda can do it as well, which, again, I'm not going to discuss this, but is there – probably not, but is there a dyad there with Baby Yoda?
Yeah. Right? Explain to the folks what a dyad is, by the way.
That's a great thing to do. So a dyad in the Force is two people that are interconnected deeply within the Force. Right. It means that there was actually some talk that maybe Obi-Wan and Anakin were at one point a dyad in the Force because they were so in sync during the Clone Wars. Oh. And again, this is one of those things. And again, this is more comic book than TV show. But one of the things the comic books really, really showed well was that Anakin and Obi-Wan were almost celebrities during the Clone Wars with how in sync and how powerful they were as a unit. It's one of the things the movies have never been able to dive into, for lots of different reasons. But the stories of Anakin and Obi-Wan working together during the Clone Wars are pretty amazing. The things that they did together, and even apart. When they're apart, they can barely function. They were very, very close. I mean, brother close, like you and me, Ray. Yes. Although I'm not gonna. Well, it'd probably be more you, but neither one of us is going to kill the other one in the future, hopefully.
No, I am probably more Anakin.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, but a dyad in the Force is two people that are interconnected, and Palpatine says it hasn't happened in generations, so it probably isn't Anakin and Obi-Wan, but it's two people that are interconnected, and we find out that Rey and Kylo have this Force healing ability in the movie. Okay, now because of that, and follow me here, this is the big kind of reveal. We see at one point when the Palpatine, the Emperor, realizes this, he's actually able to suck the life force out of Kylo and Rey, and heal himself.
Yeah.
Okay? Which is a pretty epic scene in the movie. That was one of the better scenes in the movie.
Yes,
Because then he comes back and is not full might, but he comes back as pretty powerful emperor, right?
Yeah. That Sith Lord, that red and black robe is so great.
It was great. That's one of those scenes. I didn't have any problem with how Palpatine was portrayed. We can discuss later whether he should have been in the movie, but the way they did him, I liked him a lot.
I mean, and Ian McDermott is
he's the best actor in Star Wars.
Yeah, for sure. Like
right.
Best still living actor.
Now, this Force life-sucking healing ability has brought up a point, and this is one of those things. This goes back to Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. This is one of these like fan theories that I'm going to choose to believe. That's how powerful this is as a fan theory. And I'll tell you why. Because it explains something actually well enough that you go, okay, that makes sense to me now.
Yeah.
Okay? Are you ready, Ray?
Yeah, yeah. This is a good one. This is gonna be a good one, folks.
All right. I'm starting to believe that when Anakin Skywalker strangled Padme Amidala, okay? I'm trying to think of the name of the planet now. On Mustafar, okay? And he was strangling her, and then she faints. What if Anakin unknowingly sucked the life force out of his wife? And that is why she lost the will to live.
Yeah.
Let that sit for a minute, because it makes a lot of sense. And then Anakin becomes incredibly powerful. How did he survive the lava and his arms and legs being cut off? Because he had twice the life force. Because he sucked it out of his wife. Right? And then she lost the will to live, just like Ben Solo. It makes too much sense not to believe. And let's be honest at home. We need this. Okay? We need a better explanation than she lost the will to live. It explains a lot of things away. All right? And it's one of those things of, like, again, they haven't said it, but I would not be surprised if we find out sometime in comic books or other canon that this is what happened, that Anakin was so powerful that he actually ended up taking the life out of Padme, which would make him hate himself even more, which feeds into the Darth Vader storyline even better. Because remember, the thing that Darth Vader hates the most, and hate is an integral part of being on the dark side, is himself. And that is why he is so powerful within the dark side. I need Lucasfilm and Disney to close that loop.
Yeah.
I need this, Ray. And let's listen.
Yes.
All of you listening at home, you need this too. You need this. But wouldn't that be cool? Wouldn't that make sense, to be honest with you?
Yes. No, it would. It actually would. It would make a lot of sense, the idea that he sucked the life force out of her. And it's what allows him to survive everything, even all the way through the transformation into Vader.
Yes.
Being put inside that mechanical unit, all the surgeries that Palpatine had to do on him, the experimental surgeries to put him into the suit, the Vader suit, to sustain him.
They should do that story. It's called that book is called Dark Lord. If you want to read it, you want to read a great Darth Vader book, it's called Dark Lord. It chronicles his first year as Vader. There's a lot in there about the suit and why he hates his suit, and why he won't upgrade his suit because he hates it so much, because they fuel themselves on hatred. Yeah. And also in that book, Anakin is very much still a voice in his head. Really good book. If they're going to do a TV series about him, which I hope they don't, that's what they should do.
Well, I mean, and also it's also important establishing the fact that Anakin is still in there, because it also plants the seed as to why Luke is able to reach out to him by the end of Return of the Jedi, and that Anakin is able to return to the surface.
Yeah. Another thing about Anakin that the films don't do justice, unfortunately, the prequels, is like he is a very good guy. Like that's the thing that like the films didn't, like, because he's going to turn to Vader, and I thought Hayden Christensen always gave a little bit of, there's darkness in here, right? Actually probably too much, but like Anakin was a good guy, all right? He just tapped into the dark side, and when he taps into the dark side, he becomes a prick. I don't know how else to say it. I mean, he has no problem murdering anybody he wants. But Anakin is a really good person. He's a hero, and I think that gets forgotten too much. But and then it's another reason why we got Anakin's voice at the end of Rise of Skywalker. So anyway, that was one of the big ones, is that what if Anakin was so powerful that he sucked the life out of his wife? And it makes a lot of sense to me. I'm going to choose to believe that, like I said. I want to believe that. Okay, moving on. So there's been a lot of talk over the last 2 weeks about this alternate script called Episode 9, Duel of the Fates. Long story short, I'm not going to read the whole script. I've seen it. Long story short, there's a different villain in it. It's a different story. Now there's a lot of debate. Would it have been a better film? I said when Rise of Skywalker came out, I don't want to do this. I don't want to go down that well. Yeah. Okay, I was very satisfied with the movie. And I don't want to go down. it's one of those things. If you analyze the movie too much, you're going to start to become disappointed, right? So I'm not doing it because the film's kind of. I told you they needed to be put to rest.
That's it. It's done. They brought it to an end. It needed to be brought to an end. It's done. Let's move on. Exactly.
Ray and I both agree on that. But the question that this did bring up, and you and I have discussed this, is The Last Jedi. Okay, and how much of that was actually retconned and how much of it was actually planned into The Rise of Skywalker. And I've had some time to reflect on that. Now, here I'm going to stick by what I said a few weeks ago. I'm not a huge fan of The Last Jedi. If I had to rank, and I will do this towards the end of this segment, when I'm ranking all of the new movies since 2010, it is the lowest. It is still the bottom for me.
Yep.
Okay, I know there's some of you out there that liked it. Okay, and I have no problem with that. I'm not telling you shouldn't like it. That's not how the show runs, right? If you liked it, that's great. But the question comes up is how much of that transferred into The Rise of Skywalker? And now there are some scenes, now that I've kind of seen the movie twice and I've analyzed it, I've even watched The Last Jedi again, there are some scenes that interconnect. Now, I'm going to tell you this. These are cool. What I'm about to tell you is pretty cool, all right? Mm-hmm. But it does not redeem the movie, okay? What it does is it just gives it a little bit more justification, for lack of a better word, meaning that maybe it's not as garbage as I thought it was, right? You know what I'm trying to say?
Yes.
But it's not rising up the list for me, okay? One of the cool scenes is when we find out in Rise of Skywalker that Rey is in fact a Palpatine, something that I was sure of until The Rise of Skywalker, until Last Jedi came out. I was sure that she was a Palpatine, and until they messed that up for me. It's like one of those things. I want to say I called it, but then I changed my mind, so I can't do that. But this does make me think. She's a Palpatine, strong on the dark side. In The Last Jedi, there is that scene where she is meditating, and remember, she goes right to the dark side. Yeah. Right? And Luke even says it. You went right to the dark, right? Mm-hmm. That scene makes a lot more sense now. All right? Yeah. Before it was like, we saw that. And this is why I always say you got to be careful when these movies come out. Wait till the whole trilogy comes out. Now that scene makes a lot of sense. Of course she went right to the dark side. She was a Palpatine. Right? And then Luke gives that kind of famous trailer speech of, I've only seen this power once before. It didn't scare me then. It does now. Mm-hmm. Now I wonder, was he talking about Palpatine?
Yeah, was he? Yeah, right? Because everybody assumed he was talking about Ben, Kylo. Right? Yeah. And that now suddenly that line. No, that's a very good point. That line now suddenly has different weight to it.
And Rise of Skywalker, they confirm. I'm using quotations on the screen that Leia and Luke both knew she was a Palpatine.
Yeah.
Right. So now that seems like, well, I've only seen this power once before. I wasn't afraid then. Flashback to Return of the Jedi or Empire Strikes Back.
Him on the Death Star.
I'm not afraid, right? Remember he says that?
Yep.
Okay, all of a sudden now we're stringed together between trilogies here. Again, that scene feels a lot better now. Okay. Yeah. Now Ray knows this. I'm a huge fan of the Force in Star Wars. I'm a huge fan of that mythology of the Jedi and the Sith. I've really dived into that. I was not as big of a fan. Doesn't mean I'm not a fan of the intergalactic battle scenes and the action. I love all those scenes, but the Force has always been what enamored me. That's why I've read all the Force books and Ray's read all the X-Wing books, right? Just different tastes. All the way we love it. You know what I mean? But I love that they did that because it makes sense now that she went right to the dark. It makes sense that Luke kind of knew. There's some cool little things that go back and forth in this now. Okay, still not happy with how Kylo Ren was portrayed in that movie. I'm not happy that they took characters from The Force Awakens and made them jokes. All right, and the way they killed Snoke, and like I said, they killed Snoke, and then Rise of Skywalker was just like, oh, yeah, he was a clone. I was controlling him. Forget about him. Yeah, that's kind of what they did. Well,
to try and kind of fix the now severed lines, right? Yeah. To just kind of put a. You've cut these lines. Well, at least now we'll put a knot on it, so this way it kind of just ends. It's like
well, and again, here's the thing too. In that alternate script I was talking about, the alternate villain was supposed to be Palpatine's mentor, and it was not Sifo-Dyas, right? Not Sifo-Dyas. Sorry, so it was not Darth Plagueis the Wise. Yeah, it wasn't him, and I'm glad they didn't do that because like the biggest mistake that I think Disney made when they took over, and they've done a lot of good things, don't get me wrong, but the biggest mistake was retconning all the Legends books.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Yeah, that hurt a bit. All right.
Yes.
And again, I know why they did it because they wanted to clear the runway, but I wish they would have waited just a little bit because there's some really important books in there. Like I just learned that actually Shadows of the Empire looks like that is not anymore part of the history,
which is a travesty.
Yeah, because Shadows of the Empire, at least I believe this, I think Ray does too, is the greatest Star Wars novel probably ever written.
It's up there.
Yeah,
I wouldn't.
People
say,
love
I
the
wouldn't say
Thrawn.
the greatest, but I always gravitate back to the Thrawn trilogy, particularly.
Yeah, but in terms of a standalone, that book it really captured the original
one-off,
trilogy.
Best one-off, yes.
Yeah, and what I tell people about Shadows of the Empire, I actually just bought that book for a friend, is that the reason why that book is so important now, Ray, and I don't know if people have thought about this, and again, if you don't read the novels, that's okay, but the reason this book is so important is because it encapsulates what the trilogy was like before the prequels and the current ones. Because when that book was written, there were no prequels. Yeah. So you very much get a feeling when you read that book of what the characters were like prior to the prequels, right? Vader is very dark, okay? Yeah. Luke is very positive. Yeah. You know, there's just a lot in that book that you can't get today because you know too much, right? I always recommend that book to people, and the Thrawn trilogy is very good. Okay, moving on. All right, Kylo Ren. I have discovered how he got his name, Kylo Ren. I'm going to share that with all of you because I thought you might find that interesting. I'm also going to tell you that before I get into this, Kylo Ren's a character where now we're starting to get comics about his origin story. Mm-hmm. He's a character that I hope the expanded universe dives into a bit more. Because Adam Driver did a great job playing him, but we only get this kind of little sliver of his life. One of the things Ray and I were discussing was that the new movies, 7, 8, and 9, they really take place over like a 2-week period. It's
very short period of time. It's the only time 7 and 8. It's the only 2 movies in the 9 movies that take place immediately back to back.
Yeah.
I mean, and there's like 3 to 6 months between 8 and 9.
Yeah, and what I'm saying is like what you see takes place over a short period of time. You're right. There is a break after 8 and 9 where Rey is training, but it doesn't seem to be that long.
It's not a very long break at all.
Yeah. So these movies kind of happen in a very short sliver of time, whereas the original series is over 5 years. Like a lot of people don't realize that. I think the original series takes place over 5 years.
Yeah.
All right. And then the prequels take place over 20-something years, right? If you really think about it. Okay.
Because you start with Anakin as a boy.
Yeah.
I mean, 15 years, really, right? And then he's a young man when he becomes Vader. So
yeah. And there's a lot of time jumping in there. But these are very compacted. So what that means is it doesn't give you a lot of time in between, but you do have a lot of time prior. So I'm actually looking forward to kind of like there's a comic book coming out about kind of how Ben becomes Kylo Ren right now. And it's really good. It's really dark. Like it goes into it about how he's seduced to the dark side, and I really like that. All right, because like he's a character I actually want to explore more. I think the expanded universe will really justify some of these characters because the only problem I have with the trilogy right now is that I just and this might be because of my age too. I don't know. All right, like this is tough to gauge. Let us know what you think. You comment on whatever you're seeing this. But one of the things about the I don't know what we're calling this trilogy, the Skywalker trilogy, whatever this is, the last 3 movies.
Yeah, I don't know.
Is that I don't feel as connected to these characters as I have any of the other trilogies. And I am saying that I feel more connected to some of the prequel characters than I do some of these characters. And I'm not talking about like Obi-Wan and C-3PO. Like Qui-Gon has always been a character I've loved. He's only been in 1 movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like there's a lot of characters here, but I never felt as connected to Rey and Kylo and some of these characters as I wanted to. I did in The Force Awakens, and then I feel like the other 2 movies kind of messed that up. But
they didn't. Yeah, the other 2 movies didn't get into him enough. Even Finn. Yeah. Like I love Finn and Poe. Like after Force Awakens, and they didn't do enough with them. Yeah. In 8 and 9.
That's
I think particularly 8. I think 8 was really the movie that was. 8 was supposed to be the character development movie, right? Like much like Empire and much like Attack of the Clones, like really kind of helped establish and get into the characters and kind of set everything up for to land the plane, so to say, in the 3rd movie, Rise of Skywalker. It didn't, Episode 8 didn't do that. It kind of went off on this weird. I almost want to say almost like a heist movie where like all these different parts are moving at once. Like
that's actually a good analogy. Like,
it just I don't know. It wasn't for me.
My thing is, because I get asked a lot about The Last Jedi, like why did you hate it? And I say I didn't hate it. It's not that I hated it. It didn't feel it.
It didn't feel like Star Wars in a lot of ways.
The ship escape should have worked because that is kind of a Star Wars thing to me. It should have worked. It just didn't for me. I don't know what else to and maybe it's because we had to go to Canto Bight in the middle of it, which everyone universally agrees sucked.
Yeah. The idea for the planet was great, but where they did it was like, why? Like,
yeah, it just didn't make a lot of sense. Like, why didn't we go back to Coruscant? Like, why can't we do that? You know what I mean? Like, and like someone said, well, they're challenging you to new places. Like, I don't know, man. I don't really want to be challenged in the 8th movie of something that's so, you know what I mean? Challenge me in a new movie. Joker challenged me.
Yeah.
Right? You know what I mean? Like, so, I don't know. I just, again, this is a discussion we can have again, but overall, I didn't hate Last Jedi. It just didn't strike a chord for me. And like Ray was saying, like, Empire Strikes Back is there's some range in that movie, man. Like, you really get into these characters. The only character that really developed in a Star Warsian way was Poe in Last Jedi. I thought they did his character arc. You know, he's a flyboy, he's reckless, and at the end he kind of realizes maybe I need to think a little bit. That made sense to me how they did that.
Right.
And I can't remember her name, but the head of the Resistance when Leia goes down, who sacrifices herself. Laura Dern's character. Yeah. That I didn't have a problem with that. I actually didn't. People hated her. I had no problem with that character. I thought that was a pretty badass way to go out.
Mm-hmm.
Right, but I didn't like how Kylo went up and down and sideways, and Luke was a little bit off to me at some points. I didn't mind the point where Luke was talking to Rey about, because I'm Luke Skywalker, I'm supposed to save the world. I actually thought that was pretty good. I didn't have a problem with that. All right, but he throws the lightsaber away in the beginning, and that was a statement from Rian Johnson, like, this isn't going to be like any Star Wars movie you've seen, man. Throw everything you know out.
Yeah, no, that's not what we want.
Yeah, I don't want to do that. And people, the movie's not for you. Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
We're the biggest Star Wars fans in the world.
Yeah, I heard this story in Ghostbusters. Like, yes, it is. It's for me. Do you know why? Because I'm showing my children the other films.
Yeah.
The audience is in charge here. I think people forget this. If you want to challenge me with a new Star Wars movie, do a new Star Wars movie.
Do a one-off. Yeah. Challenge us with Rogue One or Solo.
Was a great challenge, okay? Solo. Yeah, those were great. Solo was great. I'll get into that in a minute. Okay, let me go. I teased.
I'll say it was good.
I love Solo. Anyway, I'll tell you why. We'll get to that in a minute because I'm going to talk about that in a minute. Kylo Ren, his name. Now, this is one of those Force things, okay? So, the Ren name is obviously from Ben, okay? And the Ren actually becomes his lightsaber. The name of his lightsaber is the Ren. Okay, so the followers of Ren, the Knights of Ren, actually follow the lightsaber, which explains why when he loses the lightsaber in Rise of Skywalker, they turn on him. Okay? There's actually a deeper mythology with that I'm not going to go into because I think I'll lose everybody. But the Knights of Ren support his lightsaber, okay? That's why when he has no lightsaber, they turn on him. Kylo. Now, and this is funny because I don't know if you remember this, but because I'm I get really into this stuff, right? When Kylo Ren was released in The Force Awakens, I started looking at his name, and I started piecing these things together. Ren obviously is Ben. If you look at some of the other Sith Lords, they sometimes give their names up in these weird things. So Kylo is a mixture of Solo and Skywalker, right?
Huh.
So Sky, Walker, and Lo from Solo. Kylo Ren. Okay, now this is really cool, and again, this might be a stretch for some of you, but I think it's cool. The reason he chose the name Kylo is because those are both the names of his parents, right? Leia Skywalker and Han Solo, and he takes letters out to represent what he's lost, right? And I found this fascinating because he wants nothing to do with the Skywalker legacy or the Solo legacy when he's turning. He hates that. He hates his family, like at that point, which again. Expanded universe, you can get into some really cool stories here, like should that weight have ever been put on him?
Yeah.
Right? There's some cool things there, right? So he takes letters out of the names. He doesn't want to lose it completely because he wants to remember, but it's what again, they said the name is more about what he's taken out of it than what he's put into it.
Right.
Kylo Ren. That makes a lot more sense now. Now you know. You've been asking. You have an answer. Also, side note, if you want a fun little exercise, I didn't realize this till recently. There was this great meme that made me think about this. Adam Driver, who played Kylo Ren, borrowed a lot from Han Solo's character in the original series.
Yes.
There's a lot of mannerisms.
Yeah, they've done a lot of comparisons, and it's actually pretty fascinating.
Yeah, so like Han Solo, well, Harrison Ford, more than Han Solo, points his finger a lot. He does that in a lot of his movies. It's not just Han Solo. Kylo does that a lot. There's that great scene when he gets the lightsaber in Rise of Skywalker. He kind of does the shrug thing that reminds me of Han Solo when he's on the forest moon of Endor outside of the Imperial and the missile command or whatever that was.
Right.
All right. Like
the
they're trying to get
shield base.
The shield generator. Yeah, that's a rookie mistake on me. And then there's some other ones too, like just the way he shoots. Like I think we forget that Ben Solo is the son of Han Solo, and Adam Driver did a lot to mimic Han, which is really cool when you think about it.
Yeah.
Including his short temper, which also makes me think about how much of Leia was he mimicking, and I haven't really had a chance to dive into that yet.
Mm-hmm.
But I bet you there's a lot of mannerisms of Leia too.
Yeah.
Right? Just being impatient and being hard to deal with. So I think, Adam Driver did a better job with this character than I think people realize.
Well, he's a phenomenal actor.
He really
is.
He really is. And the meme fodder for years and years we're going to have with these guys, especially when he did that divorce movie on Netflix.
Oh, God.
And him and Baby Yoda arguing has been highlight of my month. But we'll get into that, okay? So the last thing I'm going to do here, because we're kind of getting through the geek segment. I hope you're enjoying this. We will get to some sports in a minute here. Is I wanted to do my final ranking of film and live action TV shows of Star Wars since pretty much the rise of The Force Awakens. Because I think it's time. I think we're at the end of an era here, and we're about to start a new one. Okay, so I'll say this right away. Number one right now is The Mandalorian. Easy.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah.
I almost want to disqualify it because it's so damn good. All right? But The Mandalorian's been the best thing to happen to Star Wars since Star Wars. And I don't think I'm unfair in saying that. Okay? It's that good.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. Number one movie for me is The Force Awakens. Okay? And I'll tell you why. When that movie came out, I think I said this before, the best review was it was like visiting old friends. It felt like the original Star Wars to me. I was very much interested in the characters. I was very excited to see where it was going to go. All right. I actually like now that Luke wasn't in it till the very end. They did a really, really good job with it. You want to challenge me? You killed Han Solo in that film.
Yeah.
That's one of the things the Last Jedi fans never like, we weren't challenged. It was the same movie. They killed Han Solo. They killed one of the most beloved characters from my childhood. And I felt that death. Yeah. I felt that in the theater.
Yeah, it was a lot more than Obi-Wan sacrificing himself on the Death Star.
Yeah.
Because of the history you have with Han when that happens.
Yeah. Talk about being challenged. Okay? I mean, that is one of the most beloved characters in movie history, killed by his son. That's pretty challenging. Okay? I got the complaints about Starkiller Base. I got the complaints about everything else. To quote Harry Prinze Jr., it's Star Wars.
Freddie Prinze.
That's what happens. Yeah, that's what I said, Freddie Prinze Jr. Stop. I messed that up. Okay, it's Star Wars. Okay, I loved that movie. I loved everything about that movie. It felt so good to watch that. It felt like in fact, first line, this will begin to make things right.
Yeah.
And it did. So number one movie for me is Force Awakens. Okay, coming in at a very close second. And the only reason why it's a close second is because I knew how it was going to end is Rogue One. Okay. Yeah. And when I say close second in the films, this could have been number one. Okay.
Yeah, I'd actually flip flop them personally.
The only reason I'm not going to is because you needed Force Awakens to get to Rogue One. It wouldn't have happened without it. And again, the other thing too is that I thought the undertaking of the Force Awakens was much larger than Rogue One, meaning that we already kind of knew what was going to happen in Rogue One. That's
true.
it. I'm going to say this again. When I say close second, it's not by much. I mean, they really should be sharing this. Rogue One, I will say, is the best standalone film ever made for Star Wars, because there's only two of them.
I was about to say, there's only two, right?
Like, yeah. Well, for now, it was phenomenal. It was good. Once again, what happens when Star Wars goes dark? It also redeemed Darth Vader at the end.
Yeah, okay. made him a badass again.
Yeah. The reason again it's not number one for me is because it has an ending, and I love that Force Awakens had an open ending, and you were ready for more. Right? Like again, it's just a preference thing. So that's number two. So number one, Force Awakens. Number two is Rogue One. Number three, this is where I'm going to shock you, is Solo for me. All right?
Wow.
I've watched that movie several times. It's a really good movie. It's a really good Star Wars movie. I want to make sure people understand what I mean by that. I'm not talking about how deep it is, and I'm discussing the lore of what that movie taught me. It was fun. It was a Star Wars movie. I've watched it multiple times. It does not bother me to watch it again and again and again. My son has a Millennium Falcon now that he loves. I watched it with him. He was blown away by that movie. Mm-hmm. All right. And the more I watch it, the more funnier Hondo. Jeez, I'm messing up all my names today. Hondo, there's a character for you. Lando was great in that. I can't remember the guy's name who played Han, but I think he actually did a pretty good job. Woody Harrelson's character. There's a lot in that movie that I really liked, okay? And I had no problem with it. I enjoyed it. So that's actually going to be number 3 for me, okay? Now, there's only 2 movies left. And I'll just run through them. The next one's going to be, obviously, Rise of Skywalker, followed by The Last Jedi. All right? And that's just my order. That's how I feel about them. I think it says a lot that I actually put The Rise of Skywalker and The Last Jedi beneath Solo and Rogue One. But this should tell you something. The fact the Mandalorian's at the top for me, the fact that Rogue One and Solo are there tells you that we are pivoting here with Star Wars, that standalone stories are important now. And The Mandalorian is technically right now, probably won't be for long, is a standalone story. It's one character. It continues. Right? Star Wars, it's time for them to go to streaming, and that's pretty obvious. I know they're developing a Knights of the Old Republic, it sounds like trilogy for film, which I'm not against, but I think it needs some time to breathe. Right, I'm very interested to see this Obi-Wan show. It sounds like we might be getting a Darth Maul show, which we need because we have some kind of open-ended activity with that in live action. Side note, real quick, if you're really interested in Darth Maul, you should be watching Clone Wars, okay? Or just go right to the episodes with Darth Maul because they're really good. They're really good how they bring him back. And then obviously in Rebels, he's back again. I won't spoil that for you on what happens with him, but Darth Maul will probably be coming back in some form. But that's my ranking, Ray. Like I said, I don't want to give you a chance to talk about this stuff too. But this is going to close out Star Wars season. We're probably not going to talk about it for a little bit.
Yep.
But I'll let you talk about it. But like I said, coming to the end, it's a great Star Wars season. I want to say that. I felt really good about Star Wars season this year. Filled me up. We also had the game, Fallen Order, which was phenomenal. We've talked about that. Pick that up if you haven't already. We'll talk about that at the end of the episode as well. But Ray, that's it. That's my vault. There we go.
Cool. Awesome. Great. Star Wars season is over, and also coming to an end now is football season.
Yes.
As we transition to the sports, the end of football season is upon us as we now have the Super Bowl locked into place. It will be the Kansas City Chiefs appearing in the Super Bowl for the first time in 50 years.
Predicted at the start of the season.
Yes,
we didn't do that at all.
Yeah. And the San Francisco 49ers, who our buddy Mel Kirk, who we're going to try and get back on the show, predicted was going to have amazing 4 wins this year. Instead, they had
Mel
13.
Was wrong. He was absolutely wrong. Mel, if you're listening, your prediction sucked.
Yeah, clearly underestimated Jimmy Garoppolo because that really is. Because aside from also a couple of defensive additions, the big difference between last year and this year with the 49ers is that Garoppolo was healthy. He got hurt last year, and that was it. Yeah. And Lee knows this. I predicted the Niners to beat the Packers. I got on the bandwagon with Tennessee and thought they would be able to do to Kansas City what they did to Baltimore and
your streak's intact.
New England
prediction streaks.
I went
really
1-1. I went 1-1 this past week. But credit where it's due. The Chiefs did. I did not think the Chiefs defense was going to be able to stop Derrick Henry. And, after 3 straight amazing record-breaking games, Henry was stuffed. He had 70 yards on the ground, which is not a bad day by any means. But, for an offense that... for an offense that relies so heavily on its run game. And also, my goodness, the Chiefs' offense looked absolutely unstoppable. Again, picking up where they left off last week, where they scored on 7 straight possessions. Again, after a slow start, they were down 10-0. And then they were down 17-7. A surgical strike to Tyreek Hill from Patrick Mahomes, and then honestly one of the most amazing QB runs we've seen in the playoffs. I mean,
career-defining run.
Yeah, I mean, Lamar Jackson had some great runs in the regular season. This was for a touchdown that put the Chiefs ahead just before the half, 11 seconds before the half, 27 yards. But they said he ran 64 yards total because Mahomes, like a stutter step to him, fake out a defender, tiptoeing down the sideline, cuts it back to the inside. If you haven't seen this play, folks, it is easily the highlight of the playoffs.
How have you not seen that play?
Yes,
if you're listening to this, how have you not seen this play?
Seriously, it is unbelievable. And then after that, the Titans were just—I don't want to say broken, but they were on the ropes.
No, they only had 7 points after that. That's it.
Yeah, and that's just it. And they scored 17. They scored 17 points their first 3 drives of the game. They only scored 7 the rest of the game. The Chiefs were able to handily defeat them. Here's the thing. I want the Chiefs to win the Super Bowl, but I believe the Niners are going to win. I think because at the end of the day, I do believe running game and defense is what wins championships, and I think overall the Niners are better on that regard than the Chiefs, just so barely. But it's going to be interesting. I think Mahomes. Obviously the Chiefs have better offense, in my opinion, but it is just. But defense and running game still really is what wins championships. So I really do believe that I'm picking the Niners. I'm going to pick the Niners.
Yeah, here's what I'll tell you about that game. And I understand where you're coming from with the bandwagon with the Titans, and I don't blame you for that. I think that the Titans' run overshadowed what the Chiefs did the previous week, last week when we were recording this, which was that massive comeback, which puts them in almost underdog territory on their own in a weird way. In the sense of, like, that was one of the most unbelievable things I've ever seen. Right? Yeah. And the thing is, they did it before the second half. That's the other thing, too. They were down 24 points and came back before the second half of the game.
Yeah.
That's
28-24 at the half. Yeah.
That's incredible. That's incredible. So, like, I think that was a little indication that this volcano is about to erupt. So, a really amazing game in terms of, like, that run that Mahomes did. I mean, you talk about cement. That's one of those things we're going to see that on highlight reels forever. It's going to be part of the opening package for every one of these probably CBS things moving forward.
If they do win the Super Bowl, that's like a career-defining play in a way, because that's what kind of gets them to that championship. Again, folks, the Chiefs have been to 2 Super Bowls. The Niners have been to 6.
Yeah.
The Niners are 5-1. The Chiefs are 1-1. But the Chiefs haven't been there since Super Bowl 4. Yeah. They beat up on the Vikings. It's been 50 years. The Niners were just there 7 years ago.
Well,
right? It just and most of our childhood, the Niners were always there. So I mean, it's really
it's weird though.
2 franchises.
Well, here's the thing: look, here's some things I feel, and this is the coach in me talking, right? Like when you get to the Super Bowl. I mean, I've said this about actually the NFC and AFC championship games. When you get to these games, you deserve to be there, right? You don't get this far on a fluke, all right? And that's one of the things. Like people are going to say, "Oh, the Niners." I'm like, no, man, the Niners are in the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
right? They're a legit threat.
They destroyed Green Bay for most of
that game. It was embarrassing. Well, here's the funny thing about these 2 games. I wanted to bring this up. So, if you didn't see the games, right? Like just say, pretend here you didn't see the games, right?
Yeah. And
I told you the score to one game is going to be 35-24. The score to the other game is going to be 37-20. Those don't sound like blowouts.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they sound similar, but they were not similar. I mean,
no.
The Niners were up 27-0 at the half. It was embarrassing for Green Bay. They looked horrendous.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers, he looked as old as he is. He looked old.
I don't even put it all on him. I mean, offensively, they suck, but just defensively, they couldn't stop the Niners.
But and the reason why it was also hard though, because I mean, it's rare. Rodgers had 3 turnovers.
Yeah,
right. The Niners had 3. A short field 3 times. It is hard to stop that offense. But the Niners did kind of what the Titans did the first couple weeks of the playoffs. Jimmy Garoppolo threw the ball 8 times in the game against the Packers. He went 6 for 8 for 77 yards. Their run game, and Mostert single-handedly set all kinds of records, 220 yards from one guy.
Yeah.
I mean, he had 3 touchdowns in the first half. He's only the 3rd man to have 4 rushing touchdowns in a playoff game. I mean, this was an absolute drubbing, and they didn't need Garoppolo to do anything.
No. Side note, Max Kellerman keeps saying that the Patriots are stupid for letting Garoppolo go. Max, I got to be here, honest here. Shut up. What are you talking about, man? Like the Pats have won 3 Super Bowls since then. Like, what are you talking about? Anyway, it's just a dumb comment to say, like making that sound like that, right? Like, obviously, everybody wins in this scenario. I know what he's saying, but still dumb. Okay, so when we look at this Super Bowl, right? It's an amazing game to me, meaning this game between these 2 teams, because I'm a big believer in a team's why and a team's ability to be bonded, and we really got the 2 most destined bonded teams here in the Super Bowl. And I can't tell you who's going to win. If you put a gun to my head, I'm just going to pick Kansas City because I think they're a little hungrier than the 49ers.
Yeah.
The only reason I say that, I'm not saying the 49ers aren't hungry. I want to make this clear. I'm not saying the other team is bad or not hungry. I think they're hungry. I just think that the Chiefs look hungrier to me in the road to get there. Okay, the Niners have kind of, they've worked their way to the Super Bowl. The Chiefs have had to overcome some amazing obstacles to get to the Super Bowl this year. And it's going to come down to that and coaching. Now, with that said, this is where it gets real. The question is, has Andy Reid figured out clock management yet? We got to remember, too, this is his second Super Bowl. And he lost the first one dramatically to a team that was cheating. Anyway, it's like they knew every play, Ray. It's like they knew every play we were going to run. And
also Kyle Shanahan of the Niners, who's looking for redemption because he was the offensive coordinator when the Falcons blew that huge lead against the Patriots and got a lot of flack for that. Yeah. I mean, some of the play, mind you, his offensive line also completely collapsed. The strip sack, a pair of holding penalties that killed drives, not to mention... I would blame him for not running the ball on 3rd and 1 on one of those drives and instead trying to pass. Yeah. But he's looking for redemption too.
This is a lot of stories. Here's the other thing I want to bring up too. It's also, and no one's going to admit this but me, it's also a little weird because Bill Belichick's not one of the coaches. Yeah. All right? They kind of got these two kind of fresh teams here that both were red, ironically. But like the Pats not being there is a thing too. It kind of throws you for a loop. You don't have this big evil empire team you're up against again. So it's exciting on a lot of whoever wins, I'm happy in the Super Bowl. This is a happy Super Bowl for me this year. And like I said, I kind of want to see Kansas City win, but I'm not going to be upset if the Niners win. I will tell you this too. This is a little bit of the unexpected versus expected Super Bowl. Right. Like the Chiefs, if I said to you before the season that, hey, the Chiefs are going to be in the Super Bowl, it's not going to shock anybody.
No, because they were a coin flip away from being there last year. Honestly, they should have been again, but the terrible overtime rules of football, unlike the XFL, prevented the Chiefs from being there.
Yeah, well, and the thing is, no one expected the 49ers to be here. Right?
No, I expected the Niners to do well this year with Garoppolo healthy. Yeah. I never saw them. I thought they would have been a playoff team, maybe a wild card team, but especially in their division. I don't think anybody expected the Rams to have such a Super Bowl. I knew they were going to have a Super Bowl hangover, but such a big one to the point that they even make the playoffs. And then, the Seahawks were good, but I think a lot of folks. Before the season, a lot of folks probably would have thought Seattle would have probably been the team to come out of that division and maybe make a Super Bowl run more than the Niners.
Yeah, you know? It's fair. And again, it's not like the Niners are they weren't a late addition to the playoffs here. They've been dominating all year, 13-3. Yeah. But I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a good game again. First time in a long time, I think most people watching aren't going to be in the position of anybody but the Pats. Or who can beat the big bad Patriots here. This is going to be kind of a cool storyline. I think that Garoppolo versus Mahomes, you're happy for either of those guys if they win the Super Bowl.
And it's really a passing of the torch in the NFL for guys like Brady and Breeze to not be there.
And Rodgers.
Rodgers. And guys
and Roethlisberger.
Exactly. Or Manning or Rivers will never going to get there anymore.
No, he's not. No, he's annoying.
He's basically semi-retired. He already moved to Florida.
Yeah, but think about this: Mahomes, Tannehill, right? Yeah. Garoppolo. You can keep going on the line here. You know what I mean? It's exciting.
Younger, it's newer guys. Yeah. A lot of people forget Ryan Tannehill's only 30 years old.
Yeah, when he wasted most of his career in Miami. But
most guys have the past.
Here's the thing: is you're starting to see quarterbacks now. This is what's great, right? And I'm actually glad you brought this up, passing of the torch. It's exciting because they're doing new things. That Mahomes run is not something I've seen recently or at all. Or when he does those blind passes, where he's not even looking at the receiver. You're seeing some amazing plays here this year. Mm-hmm. Like in Baltimore this year. It's just there's a new era coming into the league, and it's exciting because the game has been so stagnant. Dare I say stagnant? It's been the same game.
No,
who plays the best?
For sure. These guys add excitement to a game that desperately needs it. It's still the no fun league. What was it?
Absolutely.
Eric Fisher, the offensive lineman.
God, that was dumb.
$13,000.
What the hell?
He did the Stone Cold Steve Austin celebration with the NFL's main beer sponsor.
Stupid. Just stupid.
Oh God!
What are you guys doing? You couldn't leave that alone. No one was saying anything about it until you find him too.
Yeah, no, exactly. It was just unbelievable. I will say this, and Bud, on them. They donated the amount that he was fined to his charity of choice. Yeah, to kind of be like, hey, this Bud's for you, buddy. Like, it's the most. It's one of the more iconic celebrations in pop culture. The Stone Cold beer celebration.
It literally is geeks meaning sports in that. Like,
yeah, and it's just
dumb.
The fact that and the NFL just doesn't get it. It's another tone deaf move by them. But also speaking of things that we haven't seen before or we need to see. Let me tell you things that are stagnant. The Giants. The Giants are terribly stagnant. I think they're going to be very stagnant for a long time. Daniel Jones out of Duke is not going to be one of these new exciting quarterbacks that we see in the NFL, especially with his new offensive coordinator, Jason Garrett.
Hee-ha!
The Cowboy. I mean, first off,
I love this. I love this for so many reasons, and none of them are football related, right?
Of course, you love it.
Not one of them are football related. The reasons I love it. When he went to the Giants, I said, "Of course he went there." Ray, this Bud's for you, buddy.
Yeah, somebody get me a beer. Oh my God! Now look. There is a universe. There is a slim chance that this could work. Garrett not having to worry about the entire team, just focusing on the offense. Mind you, the Cowboys' offense has not been the problem for many of the years that the Cowboys did not win the NFC East. They actually have been a top 10 ranking offense most of the years that Garrett was their coach. Maybe, just maybe, he could be the guy that Daniel Jones out of Duke needs to be a decent NFL quarterback. The question that's going to be interesting to see is, can the Giants defense turn it around? They kept their special teams coordinator. Again, Joe Judge, for a wide receivers coach, now being promoted to the top spot. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens. Obviously, the Giants are very much a work in progress. It's going to be. We're hoping we're not going to suddenly go from being 4-12 to 12-4 next year. Okay, this is not going to happen. Again,
if it does, we'll replay this part of the episode.
Oh yeah, look. There will be nobody happier than me to eat crow on this.
Yeah, no. I get it.
But
that's like Mel Kirk this year. No one's happier than Mel Kirk to eat crow on saying that the
right, exactly, for sure. But let's be realistic here. First year coach who's never done. He's a wide receivers coach, never been a head coach. Jason Garrett, one of the most, and even that Jason Garrett has a winning record. It's just that he's never done anything in the playoffs, and obviously the Cowboys have never won anything under him besides a couple of divisional titles. Now the offensive coordinator. You have a decently experienced defensive coordinator again. They brought in the guy from Miami, whose defense really did come around by the end of the year. But you're going to have a new scheme. Obviously, it's a huge upheaval. The Giants, I'm not excited for next year.
Allow me to play pessimist for a minute, something I rarely do. All right, so I don't want you to think I am rooting against the Giants. I don't want you to think I'm rooting against you and that maybe this does work. But I do want to just mention the scenario where your new head coach doesn't work out and Jason Garrett, who's just desperately going to want to beat the Cowboys next year, just sucks. Now, and here's the thing. This is what I think about. Dallas is a wonderful city, and there are wonderful people in that city.
I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, no. If you're in Dallas, I'm not talking about Dallas fans outside of Dallas. I'm talking about people in Dallas. The Giants crowd is not so amicable when you don't win, right? So if if he fails in New York, which I'm not saying I'm rooting for, but I'm saying if he doesn't work there, that's his career.
That might be it. Yeah, that might be it for him.
That's a bold move going from the Cowboys to the Giants, and it's a middle finger to the Cowboys, a big middle finger. All
and
right?
taking a demotion to do it.
Yeah, that's saying something. All right, he's also been in the head coach light for what, a decade,
eight or 9 years as a Cowboys head coach. Yeah.
Yeah. So look, I actually think that experience is going to be good for the Cowboys, right? I mean, the Giants, excuse me. I think it's not a bad thing to have that guy there. He knows the game.
Well, and especially now you have a experienced offensive coordinator who has experience as a head coach to help a rookie head coach.
Yeah, well, and absolutely, and it's almost like they knew that was going to happen. But the other thing too is that when you look at it in football in general, you guys got to see Giants are taking a lot. I give them credit; they are taking a lot of chances right now. I think they also look at the NFC East and they know the Eagles are going to be a powerful team. I'm being honest, the Eagles are going to be a powerful team here.
The Eagles are healthy, yes.
Yeah, Eagles are going to be a powerful team in the NFC East. I think the Cowboys next year are probably going to have a little bit of a honeymoon phase with their new head coach. So I'm looking for the Cowboys to actually be very good next year because they're going to be very pissed off. All right, and the Giants and the Redskins are just not there. And it's a lot of this is about timing. Like you have to time that team to peak in about 3 years. When the Cowboys and the Eagles are coming down. Eagles, again, last season accomplishing more than they should have with less than they should have had. But anyway, look, Super Bowl's in 2 weeks. I'm looking forward to it. I love football, but I'm actually okay with this season ending because we're going to get the XFL very quickly after. It's the first time in a while I'm actually not looking forward to the football season end, but I'm like, all right, let's see what's coming up. I got some hockey and some XFL.
Yeah.
And we will be talking about hockey a lot more soon. I am actually going to St. Louis tomorrow to be out there for the All-Star game, so I'll have a full report on that next week when we have no football. But speaking of sports that are getting stale, it's not the Super Bowl, but baseball has decided to peak up its ugly, stupid head this week with one of the worst. I'm upset about it. One of the worst scandals. I mean, let's talk about baseball and scandals. It just seems endless. I mean, it's just unbelievable what's happening now in baseball with this
on the day that we're announcing the Hall of Fame class of 2020.
Right. So should we start with that or end with that?
I mean, I think we just briefly mention. Look, Derek Jeter's going to get
Jeter's
in. Obviously.
In. Definitely Jeter. Yeah.
Depending on how you feel about the steroids era, you might see some guys get some uptick again. I don't think Bonds or Clemens are getting in.
No.
Schilling might, even though he's a terrible human being.
Schilling.
Larry Walker's on the bubble.
Jason Giambi might be in.
I don't think so. I don't think Giambi at all.
Well, I mean, I think this is the first year he can get in, right?
I think Giambi doesn't even get onto next year's ballot. I think
maybe.
No
I mean,
votes.
there's guys like Bobby Abreu probably is available now, but like I said,
no,
Ray made a good point. Like I think that with the steroid stuff, like I don't remember. I think people remember this. Like when the steroid stuff happened with the Hall of Fame, like they started inducting people that haven't been around the game in like 80 years.
Yeah.
Like one of those classes had guys like no one had heard of any of them. Some of them died like 50, 60, 70 years ago.
Yeah,
so
I mean, Jeter's obviously going to be the highlight of this class. The only question is going to be whether or not he's unanimous.
Of course he is. Of course he is. He will be.
I'm curious.
No. I guarantee he will be. Politically, he will be a unanimous. Because baseball is dying for anything positive right now outside the Toronto Blue Jays uniforms.
I was just about to say. I mean, when you're hoping the alternate uniforms for the Blue Jays, which don't look terrible, is your best story of the January. Yeah, I mean, but yeah. So let's get into the big scandal. Pete Rose even came out this morning saying, I may have done something. I may have done a bad thing, but at least I didn't taint the game.
Yeah, good for him. Good for him for saying that because this is getting ridiculous with him now. He should be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous that Pete Halls is not in the Hall, and the fact that these players, because of the players' union that is involved in this cheating scandal. I'm sorry, but Jose Altuve and Alec Bregman and any other player who's been indicated in this, who's now not just a coach, because obviously Beltran had retired and is now a coach. You need a suspension. You need to be suspended for this. It's ridiculous that baseball
a suspension or a ban
is capitulate. I would go for a ban, but again, I don't think the union would ever allow that at this point.
Yeah.
But the fact that the baseball is capitulating to the union so much that they're not even looking at a suspension for these guys is sickening.
It's disgusting.
And if I'm a pitcher, day one, opening day, I am throwing right at Altuve's head.
But you have to.
I am sorry. I am sending a message loud and clear. I will walk in, 10 runs just by plunking every one of those SOBs in the head over and over and over again. And that's the thing, because if you don't want to suspend them, I will try to suspend them. I will try to get them out of the game, because that's what they did to. And I'm not even just talking about this as a Yankee fan, as what they did to the Yankees and Aaron Judge or the Dodgers or any of the other teams that ended up suffering because of the Rays last year is a wild card team. Like, every team that got cheated, that was cheated against, the Mariners even, Scott Brosius had talked about that as the third base coach. The Mariners even playing them in the regular season. The fact that this is out there now, and also don't blame Mike Fiers for blowing the whistle on this.
Yeah, just
like.
Yeah, I'm with
and
you.
And we'll get into this. Maybe he might have gone against locker room code for blowing the whistle on this now, obviously. Yeah. But in the long run, this is good for the game, because we need these guys out of the game now.
Yeah,
it's sickening what they did.
Ray and I talked about him, Fiers. I can't remember say this guy's name. Fiers.
Mike Fiers, yeah, Mike Fiers.
Anyway, like I don't agree with how he did it, but I'm not blaming him for doing it. All right, so like, and the thing is I'm not going to turn this into like what most politics is pointing the finger at the wrong person today. All right, it's like he exposed something that needed to be exposed. All right, and he's not the problem, right? And again, we can debate his locker room demeanor another time. Baseball has broken my heart multiple times in my life. All right. I'll never forget. I mean this. I mean, you want to talk about how sports have an effect on your life, right? I'll never forget when the Phillies won the World Series. That was a great day. Ray has his, 57 of those. But like, I remember the day I realized Mark McGwire used steroids, and it broke my heart. I mean, the home run race and you'll follow me here. The home run race between him and Sosa, Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa, rejuvenated baseball after a horrible strike. And I watched it, and I loved it. I even bought a Mark McGwire Cardinals T-shirt, which is unthinkable when you're in Philadelphia, right? And it's like, I remember watching him at the Senate, and they asked him, have you ever taken performance-enhancing drugs? And he said, I can't answer that question. And they asked him again, and I was a child, I was younger, I was a teenager. It dawned on me. It was like the end of my youth, right? Yeah. And there's been a few moments more significant than that. But I remember thinking, my God, he did it. And it destroyed me. It broke my heart. Yeah. Some kid had his heart broken recently because of Altuve and this stupid, despicable scandal. Yeah. All right? It's wrong. And again, there's been a lot of debate about the Black Sox and this and steroids. To me, this is much more of a steroid level event. The thing with the Black Sox, the 8 men out, was that they threw a game. Yeah, they threw a game. Okay? These guys essentially were trying to win by cheating. There is a difference. Yeah. There is a big difference.
Yeah. The only thing is with the Black Sox scandal is I do believe shoeless Joe Jackson, the only one who did not cheat, but what refused to snitch on his teammates. Yeah. So they put him in as guilty by association. I think shoeless Joe Jackson.
He was wrong. He was very much wrong. Okay,
he was wrong, but he was not a cheater.
But this is also like you said about the pitcher. This is like what I'm saying. Is it like I'm not blaming him right now. We can discuss him. I totally agree with you on that. I totally agree with you. I want you to know that. But like they threw a game to get money. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. These guys were cheating to win a game. There is a difference. Steroids guys were cheating to win. All right. There is a difference. All right. But I mean. Like, why would I want to watch baseball now? Why do I want to watch this sport now? The only thing I'm going to say, and Ray and I did discuss this off before, was that if this gets league-wide, it becomes a real problem, all right? And the thing is, it doesn't look like it's going to go league-wide. Looks like it's pretty much centralized to Houston. Yeah. Maybe another team.
Houston, and then Alex Cora brought it to Boston, supposedly.
But it's not league-wide, which is nice, okay? It's a little, that's you can handle it. You know what I mean? It sounds like, okay, this has been out, they're taking care of it. But it's despicable. They won the World Series by cheating. And it's obvious. And there's a lot of evidence now, and there's a lot of circumstantial stuff now. People don't know the answer. Was Altuve wearing it? Is that why he didn't want his jersey ripped off? We'll never know. Yeah. You'll never get an answer to that question.
No.
Okay?
No, and that's the thing. And sorry.
No, it's okay. The other thing, too, is that, like, you look at their batting averages in that World Series home and away. What I was gonna say. They're disgusting. Yep. They're disgusting. Like, guys batting 300 at home and 100 on the road, 400 at home.
Brian McCann was hitting 0.30, I want to say, on the road in the playoffs. Yeah. Brian McCann was hitting 300 even.
Makes no
at
sense.
Home.
Altuve,
over 400 at home, $143 on the road. I mean, you're talking literally like even Correa, who was, I think, he was hitting over 400 at home, and I think hitting 250 on the road. Like, I mean, you're talking about a 200 to 300 point batting average difference.
It's not normal.
No, that is not. That is not home field advantage.
I'm surprised it wasn't brought up more then, to be honest with you. Looking back,
like it didn't really. It's. I mean, and that's on the broadcasters, and that's on the reporters, and that's on everybody for not really paying attention to that. Then, I mean, and I believe it was Ken Rosenthal who said it. Is that this is a failure of everyone?
Yeah.
Right. This is a failure of them
Easily.
As reporters. This is a failure of the team. I mean, that's really why this is just. It might be a little worse than steroids. This was where steroids were a lot of individuals. This was a concentrated team effort.
Yeah, it's bad.
And then but obviously the commissioner failed.
Everyone.
Everybody at every level of the organization. And AJ Hinch knew it and didn't like it, and even admitted after he got fired, he's like, I should have done more to stop this. Because I wasn't for it, because I agree that it wasn't good for the game. But obviously, it's coulda, woulda, shoulda. The point is it happened. The Dodgers were robbed of 2 World Series, theoretically, because, again, Cora's Red Sox in 18 then beat the Dodgers. And, again, it is what it is. No, they should not vacate titles. I do not believe in that. I do not believe that they should, because it still happened. It still happened. It is what it is. The result is what it is. You can't go back and play those games. It is what it is. It's just like the Reds of the 1919 champion that beat the White Sox in that World Series, even though they threw it.
Well, it's also like every steroid era World Series. You just can't change it.
You just can't change it.
And you're taking something away from guys who didn't cheat.
Right.
So like that's the other thing too. It's just you obviously in baseball the word asterisk is thrown around a lot, and I think that's up to everybody. Like the thing is, like, people want that, people don't. That's up to each individual. Like I said, Barry Bonds either has an asterisk or he doesn't for you. It's one or the other. I'm not telling you which one it should be. That's up to each one of us individually. I can tell you he'll never be in the Hall of Fame, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on what side of that you're on. Anyway.
Or I mean, I like the idea of it being like a special, like a wing to the era. Or something, like, I mean... Yeah.
Well, I mean, didn't the guy that caught his record-breaking home run that was 71, right? Didn't they put an asterisk on the ball?
I think now. I don't know. Like,
no, I think the fan... Like somebody bought the ball and put an asterisk on it. Like, that's pretty damning.
Yeah.
But, yeah, look, this is bad for baseball. It's really bad for baseball. The Hall of Fame today will be, Jeter will be in, and he must be in, because they drastically need to turn their heads away from this.
Yeah.
Ray, what you said earlier, I understand collective bargaining and stuff. If there's not severe punishment here, I mean, they might lose me as a fan.
The contract is coming up soon, and there's going to have to be negotiations. And if Rob Manfred does not,
something has to happen. Okay.
Yeah, the league needs to take some power back, because this is ridiculous, and this is. Yeah. The game is suffering, and baseball for me is my first sport. I know for you it's hockey, but for me it's always been baseball. That's why what I grew up with. And again, and it's true. Like we've in our 30+ years, we've had our heart broken way too many times now.
Yeah, this is bad.
Like way more than anybody before us. Between the '94 strike, between the steroid era, and now this, it's. I'm sorry, but I mean, if there was anything else more damning to say that football is now our national pastime, it's this. Because I think you're going to start seeing people leave baseball in droves.
This is the thing about baseball. And by the way, I want to add something to your heartbreaking moments. When the Phillies got a severe cold in 2009, the whole team, that was heartbreaking for me. It was, buddy, they couldn't take the regular Dayquil. They needed Dayquil Severe. And they still couldn't beat the Yankees in 2000. That was heartbreaking. But you know what's funny, Ray, is I want to bring this back. I'm being very serious now. Is that baseball cannot afford to keep doing this, and they keep doing it. And I'll tell you why. As much as Mark McGwire broke my heart, in 2001, after September 11th, baseball brought us back. And I think a lot of people don't, I don't know. So some of you might be younger listening to this, but those of you definitely older, we needed something after 9/11, anything to kind of just get back on our feet.
Especially in the New York area.
Yeah, well, that's an understatement, right? But like just New York and countrywide, baseball is what brought us back. Yeah. All right, the Yankees brought everyone back. All right, the whole country, and I don't like admitting that.
I mean,
but
even the Mets.
It's true.
I mean, even the Mets went on a winning streak. Like, I mean,
baseball brought us back. Okay, like we needed it. It doesn't matter how you feel about the guy, President Bush at the time threw the first pitch out at Yankee Stadium in the World Series. It was just, we needed it, and it gave us something, and it gave us a way to get back on our feet at a horrible time. And the reason I'm bringing that up, it's not a great memory, all right, but the reason I'm bringing that up is because it's amazing to me the polarity of baseball, that it can break my heart and bring me back and break my heart. And the thing is, I love football. I'm not happy with the NFL right now, right? Love hockey. Yeah. All right, but hockey's not the national pastime. All right, I know that. That's my thing. All right, basketball, whatever. All right, basketball fans, like I enjoy basketball, I do. But when you have one team winning all the championships over the last few years, it's great. Congratulations, Toronto last year.
Yeah.
All right, but it's like the baseball. I can quote every baseball movie ever made right here. It's tough not to be romantic about baseball. People will come, Ray. People will come. That actually works here. Look at that. Yeah. People will most definitely come. Get it together. Please, I'm begging you guys to get it. This is horrible on so many levels. It deserves better. The sport deserves better. The fans deserve better. The kids who are playing this deserve better. And the country deserves better. Granted, if you're listening to this podcast, you probably agree with that last statement. There are people out there that don't like sports. You must be the golden standard in American sports. Yeah. And you have failed once again, in search of a scarred championship.
Yeah.
All right? And again, like, football has plenty of this. Football has plenty of this. That's why it's not the national pastime, though.
Yeah.
You must rise above baseball. All right? Anyway, we're both upset about it. We'll see what happens. If punishments do not come, Ray, I think you're right. I think the Astros better duck next year because people are going to be throwing balls, especially at Altuve, man.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's
horrible.
It's unbelievably bad, and it's bad for the sport, and I think even the union needs to wisen up and just let sanctions or let things happen.
Yeah, you got to let it go. You got to let some of this stuff go. I mean, it's just like... I mean, like, again, the NHL went through something like this with their collective bargaining. Sorry, never mind, Siri. Sorry, I don't know why that just happened. The NHL had their collective bargaining, and like they've had 2 strikes of it, but the NHL stood their ground and said, "Look, this is not going to be an unfair deal for us. Maybe Major League Baseball needs to do that at this point because it's ridiculous." All right, like if how about this? If the MLBPA supports cheating, I'm not supporting them.
That's it.
Period.
That's it. I refuse to go to a ball game next year.
Yeah,
I refuse.
I'm gonna let this play out. We'll see how the rest of this offseason goes. As
of right now, I am not going to.
Because I think something will happen. It's just gonna take some time. On to happy news though. Let's do some more happy news.
Yeah, I mean, we got a bit of a long episode here. If you've been with us thus far, we really appreciate it. It means
you're
a lot.
The best.
We had a lot happening this week. Lee had many theories about Star Wars, but Star Wars season is finally over, and obviously football and baseball. There's a lot going on. Typically, at this point, we do as a matchup. But a couple of weeks ago, we introduced a new feature as an alternate.
Wait. Sorry, I'm sorry to cut you off. There is something I have to say. This is really not important, but I have to tell you this.
Okay.
All right. So just going back to the Hall of Fame real quick. Talk about Jeter. Larry Walker. I just saw this fact, and I'll be remiss if I don't mention it. Larry Walker's parents' names are Mary and Larry, and his brothers' names are Barry, Carrie, and Gary. So Mary and Larry had Larry, Barry, Carrie, and Gary Walker. I know now you're thinking, why did I interrupt you for that? But you know in your heart that how can you let that go?
I appreciate that tidbit. I do. Yeah.
Can you say Larry, Mary, Barry, Carrie, Gary, and Larry?
No, I'm impressed that you did.
Well, I'm reading it. That's why.
I'm not.
Let's just say it again. Mary and Larry had Larry, Barry, Carrie, and Gary. Okay, Walker. Ray, go ahead. walk into this next segment.
I'm walking here. So anyway, yes, the couple weeks ago we introduced a new feature with the bracket. Lee did a movie bracket for 2019 based on the best box office movies of 2019. So over the weekend, finally was released the best-selling games according to NPD in North America. Best-selling games of 2019. So I was going to similarly now let me just preface this by saying this is not my personal top picks. My personal game of the year was a game called Control from Remedy Entertainment. Some of my top 5 are on here, but Fire Emblem did not make this list, which was one of my number 2 game of the year. A game called Indivisible, which was a beautiful indie game, was my number 4 game of the year. Not on the list, not best sellers. Other thing with this list, they released the top 20 selling games of the year, and this might surprise folks. 6 of those top 20 games were not released in 2019. Some of them released later in 2018, and they continued to sell. Some even in 2017 and continued to sell. But the thing, or even earlier than that. So the one stipulation, the game had to have been sold or released, I should say, in 2019 to have made this list. So Smash Bros. Ultimate, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Grand Theft Auto 5, Minecraft, Red Dead Redemption 2, and even EA's Anthem, which was in the top 20 this year, were not eligible for this list. Similarly to what Lee did a few weeks ago, it's the top 12 outside of those exceptions. Top 4 get a bye. And I think this is kind of fascinating because it says a lot about how games are sold in America, and how a lot of times people just they kind of just get into an annual franchise. They buy their 2 or 3 annual franchises every year, and that's perfectly fine. But there's a lot of folks out there who do that, and so for the first time in a while, the top-selling game this year was Call of Duty: Modern Warfare, which was a remake of a game that came out 10 years ago on Xbox 360, PS3, but there's a lot of dude bros out there. We get it. You love Call of Duty, even though it's been the same damn game for so damn long.
You get a gun and you get to kill people.
Yeah, I mean,
I've just summed up all games.
Yeah. No. Game number 2, and again, these were actually lesser entries this year for these games, but people buy them out of habit. NBA 2K20 was number 2. Madden NFL 20 was number 3. Yeah. Again, this is North American sales we're basing this on. If we were to do worldwide sales, FIFA those would be and Madden wouldn't be on the list. NBA would be farther down, and FIFA would be higher on the list. FIFA is in the top 12, by the way, but it's not close to the top 3.
Well,
and number 4
is that number 1? FIFA's number 1 in the number 1 selling game.
FIFA's like number 1 in the world.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah, but we're doing this just as the North American because it's the only one to give really solid numbers.
Well, and we're in North America.
And we are in North America. And 4 is Borderlands number 3. So those 4 games got buys. The 5-12 matchup. Mortal Kombat 11 was number 5 game of the year. Luigi's Mansion 3 was number 12 game of the year. The 6-11 matchup, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, which let me just note how impressive that is because it came out November 15th. It was only out in 2019 for 6 weeks, and it still snagged number 6 spot. The 11 was the Resident Evil 2 remake,
yeah.
Which I appreciate and can understand because that game, going from PS1 to PS4, that's a big jump.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's like remaking a movie now. It's no problem with that.
Exactly. Yeah. Unlike Call of Duty: Modern Warfare. Number 7 was, and again, it's actually number 8 overall, but Smash Bros. Ultimate was number 7. Again, it's been disqualified, so number 7 seed, Kingdom Hearts 3. Number 10 seed, Pokemon Sword and Shield. And then finally, the Division 2 is the 8 seed, and FIFA 20 is the 9 seed. So the most interesting matchups really happen in the first round.
Well, okay, wait. Let's set the mood here. We're already way over time, so I don't care about rushing through this. So let's just set the mood here.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me get some music on for the background. Okay. We'll see. We got to get something going here. Okay. Here we go. When you're ready.
A little Sonic music. Sonic was nowhere near anything.
Well, when the hit movie comes out this year.
Oh, boy. Yeah, a couple of weeks. See. Actually, just a couple of weeks from now.
It might do better than people think it's going to do.
I think so. But anyway, that's neither here nor there at the moment. We will talk about that when that comes out, I'm sure. Mortal Kombat 11 versus Luigi's Mansion 3. For me, Luigi's Mansion 3 was good, but it's not even the best game in the series. Mortal Kombat 11 was absolutely phenomenal. It changed the franchise. I 100%ed that game. I got 1,000 and 1,000 gamer score. I put tons of time into it. How it brought back characters, adds time travel, which I know is an element that Lee absolutely loves.
I love time travel.
I think that it was easy to pick Mortal Kombat 11 over Luigi's Mansion 3. So 5 seed advances. Again, this was a little tougher. Resident Evil 2, though, is a remake. It's very much, the graphics are updated, the gameplay has changed. Resident Evil 2 was great. Star Wars Fallen Order, it's a new original game in the Star Wars universe. It made my top 5 games of the year overall, so I was happy to see that it actually made at least the top 6 in terms of sales. It was a good story, great gameplay. This is close, but I go original story over remake every time. Star Wars gets the edge here.
What if Rian Johnson writes the sequel to Fallen Order?
Then they'll have to reboot Star Wars all over again.
I know, because that's how I felt about that game, Ray. Like when I finished it, I was like, "Wow, I felt really good. Let's not screw this up."
Yeah. 7, Kingdom Hearts 3, a game that probably the best in the series, but for considering most people were waiting 10 years for it, plus it did not live up to the hype overall. Which, again, this series, I believe, has some issues overall. Unless you are a Disney fanatic, this is not, honestly, Kingdom Hearts isn't that great an RPG. It isn't. I'm sorry, folks.
That's not why you play it. Yeah, that's not why
you play it because you're a Disney fan.
Yeah,
honestly.
Exactly.
Whereas Pokemon Sword and Shield, you play it not only because you're a Pokemon fan, but it is a good RPG. It is a good strategy-driven RPG. Also, Pokemon Sword and Shield, going to the England region, new Pokemon. For me, personally, I know people are going to be up in arms that this is going to be controversial, but this is our first upset of the tournament.
Ooh.
To me, Pokemon beats Kingdom Hearts, 10 seed over a 7, not unheard of. Pokemon advances over Kingdom Hearts. Sorry, Kingdom Hearts. Maybe if you had come out 7 years earlier, like you should have, you would have had a better matchup. Oh, nice.
I've changed the music because Pokemon Go. Now I'm not playing Disney themes due to copyright infringement. I'm going to do Pokemon Go.
8 and 9 seed. Again, this happens a lot. This is actually a good talk about sports games in general. We are at the end of a console generation.
Yep.
Typically, sports games suffer at the very end and the very beginning of console generations because of their annual the annual cycle that they're on.
It's tough to catch up.
Yes, This was a down year for FIFA. It obviously it's always going to sell because it's an annual franchise and you have your diehard fans. But it was a down year in terms of quality and even honestly, sports games across the board. Madden, NHL, NBA. To me, down year overall. WWE especially. Oh my God, WWE 2K20 was terrible. Down year overall. Going against the Division 2, which really is more like the Division 1.5. But it was a good game. It was a competent game. Obviously, if you like multiplayer, this is a game for you. It's great co-op. So again, Division 2, something more original, is going to top a down year annual franchise game.
Absolutely.
So Division 2 as the 8 seed over the 9 seed. That leaves us now. We got Mortal Kombat 11, 5 seed against 4 seed Borderlands 3. Borderlands, again, this was one of the weaker games in the series. Of the 5 games that Borderlands has put out, I would say that Borderlands 3 is the second worst. Like, I would go pre-sequel worst, Borderlands 3 worst, then probably I'd put in Tales from the Borderlands, which is a very different game. It's a Telltale game. And then Borderlands 1, Borderlands 2.
Wow.
Borderlands 3 is... It felt very repetitive. It wasn't as funny as the other games. That's a game that its gameplay is very basic. It's very simple, and it relies a lot on its comedy and its humor and its narration and it just wasn't there. It didn't deliver. The writing did not deliver, and I think part of it is because it was different writers in the first couple of games, and you can tell. So Mortal Kombat 11, as the 5 seed, continues to advance.
Wow.
This then brings us now to 6 seed versus 3 seed, Star Wars versus Madden. Again, it may have sold well, but this is a time where quantity does not necessitate quality.
Sure.
And this was a down year for Madden. So good for EA because you had 2 games here. You're going to get EA was going to get something to advance out of this round.
Yeah.
But again, I'm sorry to all the sports fans out there for sports games, but it was a bad year for sports games.
Look, comment if you thought Madden should have been there. I mean, it was.
Oh,
I bought it. It's okay. It's not anything special this year.
Yeah. Whereas, I mean, Star Wars was great. Star Wars was a top 5 game. Star Wars beats Madden.
Boom.
6 seed.
Geekdom beats sports in this case.
And unfortunately, we're gonna have to. It's now Pokemon as a 10 seed against the 2 seed NBA 2K20. Again, anybody who's played it, there was a lot of controversy over the microtransactions with NBA 2K20 this year.
You mean the gambling?
Exactly.
You mean the casino, right?
Exactly. So I mean, it was a big deal back in October when this came out. So yeah, you sold a lot of copies, but this was probably the worst NBA 2K game of the generation. So again, Pokemon has to advance because it was good. It was terrific. It's good games versus a bad game. I mean, you got to buy because you sold a lot of copies, but you weren't a quality game.
That doesn't guarantee you anything.
Yeah, exactly.
As some of the NFL teams.
Yeah. So now we have the 1 seed versus 8 seed, Call of Duty versus Division 2, and we finally don't have an upset.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Okay. Yeah.
Division 2 was good. But you got to give credit where it's due. Call of Duty they did a really nice job with the remake, and this is actually very fitting. You have 2 military-style shooters. Call of Duty, it may be repetitive, it may be the same thing year after year, but it's still it is still the team to beat.
Yeah.
And Division 2 does not do that. Division 2 had a lot of its own issues. I think it was a minor upgrade over Division 1.
It's the gold standard. How about we say that?
That's a great way of saying it. And so Call of Duty remains the gold standard in this genre.
I do want to say
Division
this.
2.
Yeah, like repetitiveness is okay if you continue to maintain the gold standard, if you know what I'm trying to say with that. Because it's kind of like the way sports games used to be. Like, and you said this though, there are times where sports games are the gold standard, and like Madden year after year is like, hey, it might be a roster update, but hey, this is the gold standard.
Right.
Call of Duty does maintain that. I don't think anybody would argue that.
No. So we have a lot of lower seeds, and then our number 1 seed, Call of Duty. Call of Duty 1 seed versus 10 seed Pokemon, and this was admittedly hard. This was hard because again, you have the gold standard in Call of Duty, but this is me personally. You remade a game in Modern Warfare that didn't need to be remade as soon as it was. The game isn't even 10 years old. This was a cash grab. This was a cash grab. This was, you guys had been having, since about Black Ops 2, the trend for Call of Duty has been coming down. It hasn't been $1 billion franchise in a while. It's been, it's been good, but it's been steadily declining. You needed an easy win. That's what remaking Modern Warfare. It's not doing something difficult. You weren't rebuilding the game from the ground up like Resident Evil 2 did, taking a PS1 game and making it a PS4 game. You're making a PS3 game into a PS4 game. And sure, you added a little levels, you tweaked it, you remote capped it. But considering I know very intimately, I've worked with a lot of these guys before. I've been able to had a chance to talk to a lot of these guys over the years. There has not been nearly as much work put into this game as there have been previous Call of Duty.
Well, storytelling, no.
No.
Like that's some of the hardest stuff for games is storytelling. That's again, we can speak to that of Star Wars if you want to, but it's like, it's and again, probably the same thing with Resident Evil to a point, but like you said, it's much older.
Much older, much bigger, much more work had to be done to remake that game.
And a new generation's discovering it for the first time. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if Modern Warfare fits into that realm yet. Yeah.
No, I don't think it does. I think it needed to wait a while, and I think this was a cash grab because they needed an easy win. So for me, considering that how Pokemon is a completely brand new game with the mechanics might be the same, but it's a new world, it's a new story, it's new characters,
and they're Pokemon, man. Come on, you can say it. I'll say it.
Call of Duty, you got thunder shocked.
Oh,
you're done. Pokemon advances into the finals. Then this was a tough one.
Pikachu
Both of these
beats Pistols.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, we could do 100 of these if you wanted to.
I know we could spend a lot of time here, but we're already at an hour and a half.
Steelix beats. No, I'm just kidding.
Both of these games now, it's the 5-6 matchup in the other part of the Final Four. Mortal Kombat 11 versus Star Wars.
Ooh,
For me,
one I didn't want
both of these games were in my top 5 this year.
Yeah,
Mortal Kombat was number 3. Star Wars was number 5. This was really hard. This was probably my most difficult choice of the tournament. I would say it's just because of the incredible amount of polish that Mortal Kombat had.
Yeah.
The amazing multiplayer, the story, the crypt, the replayability that Star Wars lacks.
Yeah.
Gives it. I mean, this is like an overtime buzzer beater.
Yeah.
But Mortal Kombat gets over here and gets into the final. Just barely over Star Wars.
Well, here's what I'll say about that. And I love both those games. I have both those games. Actually, 2 of the games that I've beaten this year. I just so you guys know, any year I have about 2 of those. Ray has 600,437 of them.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you this: the replayability actually is the key factor here, and the fact that Star Wars. If I had to, Ray, I'll throw this question kind of at you too, but there's a big difference between creating a story, which Star Wars does, within the world, and then revitalizing a story that needed to be revitalized.
Yeah.
And Mortal Kombat 11 had a really tall order story-wise,
Yes.
in terms of how to do it. And when you do time travel, you can screw that up bad. Okay, you can really mess up. And the thing is, it is a crutch. It always is. But the characters like Chronica and the way they did it and the reasons why she needed to reset the timeline, and it was very, very well done within the Mortal Kombat universe. Yes. And then the DLC was even more fun. I mean, like I said, and that's another thing. Star Wars might not even have any. Right, but like it's funny because Terminator was actually a pretty fun DLC. Shang Tsung is an awesome DLC.
Yeah, to actually get the guy who played Shang Tsung in the movie to do the mocap and the voice, like
So it's just again, this is the Patriots versus whoever matchup here. The Patriots won this year, right? Like they just know what they're doing. They know how to get to the playoff game and win. But I loved both games. I want to say that, but I have to agree with you, Ray, in terms of like biases aside. Mortal Kombat, in terms of this list, would have to take that matchup, but it's like there's a handshake at the end of the game. Or
I mean, like again, it is
a friendship. Friendship. That's what it is. Well, friendship
it's
again.
A friendship.
It's not a fatality. It's a friendship.
It's very good. By the way, have you seen the Joker fatality yet?
I saw that it had happened, but I haven't seen it yet. But
basically, it's he like does like party favors, and a sign comes down that says friendship. And then he throws the person into the sign and shoots him with the Tommy gun, and all the friendship letters fall off, and it says fatality.
I love it.
Yeah,
that's a very Joker thing to do. Love it.
Yeah, it was really well done. But I mean, again, the DLC, all the DLC characters, the support, the replayability.
People are still buying it.
Yeah, it's credit where it's due. Mortal Kombat 11. This was again my toughest call of the tournament. So we have a 5 seed versus a 10 seed. It's the final. It's Mortal Kombat versus Pokemon. Again, and by the way, our final four, think about it, our final four in terms of geekdom, especially in video games, were kind of like royalty. Mortal Kombat, Star Wars, Pokemon, and Call of Duty, right? Like that was the final four.
Yeah.
So like all very worthy final four. Mortal Kombat versus Pokemon, though. Yeah, a friend of mine went to Japan and brought me back this weird plushie of Pikachu bleeding from his eyes. It was really, really weird. But
yay!
I'd imagine that's what would happen in this matchup, is that Scorpion would absolutely eviscerate Pikachu, and that, honestly, overall, Pokemon was great, but it didn't do as many new things and as inventive things as Mortal Kombat 11 did. Both have a lot of replayability. Both are extremely well polished. Both have DLC coming that I'm very excited about. But because Mortal Kombat really reinvented the wheel with its story, like Lee said, really kind of found a way to reset the franchise, possibly to continue it going forward. Whereas Pokemon become the Pokemon master, become the best. You know, it's again, it is by the narrowest of margins, but it is with great honor that I declare our 2019 video game bracket winner to be Mortal Kombat 11.
Dun 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 dun. They don't have any cool. Well, I guess we could put it on. I know it's song. I don't know why I didn't think of that. Yeah. You know, here's the thing. I agree with you. I always bow down to you in terms of your picks when it comes to gaming. This is very much like we said about the Super Bowl, though. It is very much both teams deserve to be there.
Yeah.
But someone had to win the game.
Yeah, exactly. Somebody had to get that last touchdown. Somebody had to pull it out. Yeah. Yes, there it is.
I had to bring it out. I think this has been on the show before.
I believe it has, yes. Yeah, I think when we were talking about Mortal Kombat 11 the first time when it actually came out, we reviewed it way back in the early episodes of the show.
Yeah. So it was a great game. Great game before I go too far into that.
Yeah, I mean, it took the long way. It didn't have a buy. There was no buy for Mortal Kombat.
No, it took the long way. It was out earlier in the year. Great marketing campaign, by the way.
Oh,
the people at MK really did a great job.
Oh, mixing that song to the launch trailer.
Brilliant.
Oh, so beautifully edited. Mwah.
Yeah. Listen, it's not easy to market games and especially like that. Like you think about Mortal Kombat, like the game. How are you going to make this interesting to me again? You know, that the game. You know, they did a great job. So really, really happy with that choice. And I don't want to think about Mortal Kombat characters fighting Pokemon because we already talked about ruining my childhood earlier in the show. And I'm not really interested in that again. By the way, the fatalities in Mortal Kombat 11 are gruesome as hell.
Amazing. My God.
Yeah.
So, and by the way, just so you folks know, I did actually write this out as an actual
just like I did.
Yeah,
you know, it's funny. Ray and I were talking about this, and I asked him not to tell me his picks too much because I didn't want to ruin it for myself listening. Because like you guys at home, I'm listening to him for the first time with this too. But it's like I remember when I was making my bracket with movies, I'm like, man, we're spending a lot of time on this. That's awesome, right? Like when people make fun of you for that. By the way, I looked up the Joker fatality, and now it's just showing me other fatalities. These things are brutal, man. They're brutal.
Yeah, it's great. It's great.
Yeah, I mean, Johnny Cage's are really funny. Anyway, there's one here where he's uppercutting someone's head off, and they just keep redoing takes.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Yeah, with the broken jaw. I love it.
Yeah. So, anyway, Ray, great list, great work. Why don't you put that bracket up again for the people watching this?
Yes, for those of you watching at home.
There it is. MK11 all the way to the top.
Yep.
Is it going to be MK? Now, is MK11 the Chiefs? Or is MK11 the Niners in this matchup?
We'll find out in 2 weeks.
Right.
I think they're the Niners.
Yeah, I kind of do too, like the underdog. But then who are the Chiefs?
I mean, I guess they're Pokemon, right?
Well, I could see Mahomes in Pokemon. He's got the voice for it,
right? Like, I mean, he's kind of like he just does quick attack and he gets into the end zone.
Yeah. I think about it. What's Mahomes? I choose you, Mahomes.
This is a good matchup. Maybe we can do this.
Garoppolo wins.
What Pokemon? Are the Super Bowl?
Oh, I can't wait for that one. Yeah,
that's a great. That is something to look forward to next week, folks. But unfortunately, this has been an extra long episode for episode 40 for Geeks Who Like Sports. If you've listened to this entire thing, we really, really appreciate it.
God bless you.
We will try to rein ourselves in next week a little bit better.
No, we won't. Whatever. We
had a lot to talk about, and stay tuned. Hopefully, we're gonna have Mel Kirk back on the show soon. That'll be fun. Lots of great stuff to look forward to. Lots of great stuff happening here at Geeks Who Like Sports. We're getting back into the routine. Jury duty's over. Thanks for listening, everybody. For Lee, I'm Ray. Till next time. Oh, yeah, also, don't forget, join the Facebook group. Download on iTunes, wherever video podcasts are heard. And email us at geekswhoLikeSports@gmail.com. Until next time, I'm Ray Carcillo. Good night, everybody.